What's up, guys? Steve from Scrub Rips here, hopping on to make some more videos here. Trying to come up with more ideas of what's more relevant to you guys, what people are actually thinking about in the community and collecting community and Pokemon um, metaverse, I guess So after talking to some folks that were in the live stream last night. Um, Gave me the idea of kind of talking about my perspective on when we might see like a bear market, or if I in my opinion foresee anything indicating when we might see a kind of a downturn in the market. And um, to my knowledge, I don't see any sets or anything in the near future that really would indicate anything like that happening. I think our biggest, what we might see as far as like a slowdown, if we're talking about um, the English product and that kind of demand, I think really we might be seeing that right now as far as perfect order goes. And even with that, there's still plenty of demand, by standards of, I would say, like early Scarlet and Violet, where you could get booster boxes for like $100 or even less in some cases. Um, I don't think we're gonna see that for quite a while. Perfect Order, from what I'm seeing, is already selling for above MSRP. There's demand for it at that level. I don't think the demand rivals Ascended Heroes by any means. Ascended Heroes really set the bar high. Um, but looking at where we are currently, and then um, the sets that are projected in the near term here, I don't really see that turning downwards really that much. I think right now you have with Perfect Order, and then potentially with I believe it's going to be called Chaos Rising, which would be Ninja Spinner set. These are kind of like smaller sets. They definitely have a niche where there's demand. Like with Perfect Order, you're gonna see that Meowth SIR, um, highly coveted, and the most valuable, I think, Pokemon SIR in Nihil Zero in the Japanese set. So I see that continuing in the English set under Perfect Order. Um, I would say under Chaos Rising, you got the Greninja, which Greninja was the big chase, I believe, in Twilight Masquerade with the SIR there. I think the artwork it's definitely different. It's um, there's definitely a big difference there. So I don't know if that's going to be as highly coveted in English. I haven't seen it in person in Japanese yet. Um, but to me, I think the star of Ninja Spinner really has been the set of ARs. I think the ARs are really good in that set. It's a very small set, so there's not a whole lot of like SARs to chase. And to be honest, I think you're by far most popular is the Greninja. Um, I don't hear a whole lot of people like opening packs because they're chasing the Mega Floetta um, or the Cinchino. You know, um, I think people obviously, you want to hit SAR and all that kind of stuff, but I think it's by far and away the chase is obviously the Mega Greninja, but not even close in terms of demand. So um, I think that one's kind of be along the same lines as Perfect Order. People will be chasing that. They'll be chasing the Gold Greninja. A lot of the art rares, because you're not going to have the same guaranteed hit rate in English as you do with Japanese. Even though there's only 12 art rares, it's a relatively small set. If you're looking for even just a handful of specific illustration rares once it gets into the English product in Chaos Rising, then I still think you're going to have to spend a decent amount of money to chase there. So there's still going to be demand for that. Like I mentioned, Ascended Heroes really set the bar high. So I think we'll return to closer to that level in some of these future sets. The rumored sets are to be centered around the next sets being Mega Darkrai, and then a set centered around Mega Rayquaza. So, those are two huge Pokemon, that have a very large fan base, especially when it comes to collecting in the card space. Um, Greninja, I don't think has quite the same pull as those two. Um, like I said, with Twilight Masquerade, it definitely um, had a big draw for the chase of that set. Outside of that, I think most people weren't really chasing anything else. Um, they'd be nice to haves that you hit if it were like, what's it, the Blood Moon or Saluna and those kind of things. Like, it'd be like, okay, you take that obviously if you got it, but people are chasing the Greninja. I mean, that was by far and away the chase there. So, um, I think it's similar from that aspect with Ninja Spinner, but those aren't going to be as high demand, right? Perfect Order and Chaos Rising, I don't think. However, I don't think it's going to dip into anything that's going to be considered like a bear market by any means. I don't see anything dropping back down towards MSRP. I don't claim to know anything more about the market than anybody else, but if I had to guess, I think Perfect Order probably is one of the lesser desired of the Mega era so far. If I had to guess, I'd say probably the least out of the set so far, because with Phantasmal, you had everybody chasing the Charizard. Um, Mega Evolutions, I think, was a really good set across the board with so many really nice SARs. I still think that set is relatively slept on. You got the Mega Lucario, Mega Gardevoir, Mega Kangaskhan, Mega Absol, the Mega Latias. You've got the two golds in that set, the Mega Venusaur SAR. So there's so many, I think, top-notch SARs out of Mega Evolutions, and hardly anybody rips that compared to Phantasmal, because Phantasmal, has the draw of the Charizard, and people are chasing that hard. Outside of that, there's a huge drop-off with the SIR value. But then you go to Ascended Heroes, and across the board, I mean, that one's, you got Mewtwo, you got the Mega Dragonite, you got the Mega Gengar, you've got the Gold Dragonite. There's just so many things um, to pull in and appeal to all collectors in that set. So that really set the bar high. Plus it being kind of a different set as far as, being that special set where it's just ETBs and then other ancillary products. We haven't seen the booster bundles come out yet. So it's been harder to get like big chunks of packs in general. So that demand has been kind of high, right? So people snatching up all the product that they can get because you can only get a few packs and some of the products at a time. So that causing, increased demand there. I would say, like I said, Perfect Order is going to be a slowdown. I would consider this the slowdown and Chaos Rising. But then once you get into the Mega Darkrai, Mega Rayquaza, and then after that, I mean, you still got the 30th anniversary set that's supposed to come out around October. If anything, I see this as kind of like a slowdown period, and then it's going to start ramping back up. It goes to the after Chaos Rising, then you'd have the Darkrai set come out in English, the Rayquaza set come out in English, and then people would be looking towards the 30th anniversary set, which I think people are going to go crazy on. You know, I don't think it's going to be like my understanding where the 25th anniversary was set was, as far as you could get that product pretty easily. You know, for the most part, you could get your hands on packs relatively easy for that, and just the landscape of um, collecting in Pokemon is very different now compared to where we were 5 years ago. I wasn't even really in the space 5 years ago, so um, after coming back, and even just a couple years ago, I was able to get a decent amount of celebrations. So um, I don't I don't think it'll be like that. I think people are going to be jumping all over the 30th set. Now, we haven't seen what those cards might look like, except for some of these first partners promos, which I think are pretty cool. You know, if you look real closely at those, you know, you'll see a lot of different aspects in there, like um, some artworks or things that are kind of like callbacks slash Easter eggs to like the video games that are associated with those time periods. So like the Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle, you know, you'll see certain things. I think they had like a picture of the bicycle, you know, which is a big part of the Game Boy game, and being able to get around the maps and all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, you see the certain artwork with the buildings and that kind of thing. And then you see that change with the other generations starters offered in those promos. So um, those are highly coveted right now. I think obviously the values of them will go down once more people can open those packs and get their hands on those. But those, you know, those products that they're in right now, I think it's just a two booster pack, and then you get the pack of the promos. And you know, I've seen people, you know, charging upwards of like $50, and it's a $20 MSRP product. So um, you know, we'll see what that looks like. But you know, it's connected to the 30th anniversary, and it's at 2.5x, you know, the MSRP value. So if that's any indication, once we get to the 30th set, I mean, things I think will be more difficult than other ever, as far as getting your hands on product, from, you know, finding it in the wild, so to speak. So that's my personal perspective on it. You know, love to hear your guys' opinions in the comments. You don't have to agree with me, but that's just where I see it going, as far as what the sets are on the horizon and the popularity of the Pokemon that are really anchoring those sets. I think right now, like I said, Perfect Order and Chaos Rising are probably going to be the closest to what you might consider a bear market, which one still isn't a bear market by any means. You know, you still got booster boxes selling easily for $200 plus, which is far above MSRP. It's at like almost what 25% over MSRP for that. So, um, you know, it's cooled down relative to like where Phantasmal started out, and maybe even Mega Evolutions, and definitely compared to Ascended Heroes. But um, mind you, just a cooldown doesn't really mean a bear market. I mean, I wouldn't call it a bear market until we're seeing stuff being sold for under MSRP, and I just don't see that happening at all for like the rest of the year, at least up until um, the 30th anniversary set comes out. I don't know what they have planned after that. That's usually about the time they'll do a special set after that, you know, around Christmas time period. So who knows what they'll announce there. Can't imagine if they're doing 30th anniversary set in October that, you know, they wouldn't have something more up their sleeves planned for the holiday season, right? Because especially an English product, um, holiday season, you know, getting it for gifts, and it's going to be a high demand, um, just because of the time of the season. You know, the product doesn't even necessarily have to be that great, but if they put out something that's really intriguing and captivates the community, then Could be even harder to get product then. So let me know what you guys think. Um, remember to follow us here, subscribe, hit that like button if you enjoyed kind of hearing the perspective on it. A little different video as far as what we've been putting out more recently. Um, just giving you my opinion and perspective on what I see in the near future here. Um, again, don't take any of this as me telling you you need to go out and buy the stuff and hold on to it because it's going to shoot up in value or anything. I just don't think we're going to see market prices drop back down to MSRP anytime soon because of the popularity of what some of these sets are going to contain. So yeah, make sure you subscribe here, follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and in case you guys aren't aware, we have been going live, sort of a dual stream situation going on. We're going live on YouTube, plus we have our live streams on TikTok, as we have been doing. So a little bit different of a setup here as well. Um, appreciate your all's support. It's been really fun seeing where things have led with this, and we continue to grow and appreciate y'all's support, and hopefully keep making some content here and get it out, so so that we have more stuff to enjoy and talk about as things continue to progress in the collecting universe here. So appreciate y'all. Have a good one, guys.